I used to work with an athlete. She ended up with a diagnosis of an eating disorder, and it essentially ended her sporting career. If I were to give you a percentage of the girls that I was working with that had a history of an eating disorder or an active eating disorder, it would have been 60% easy.
There's no one size fits all for being athletic. If you can do the job and you do it well, it does not matter what you look like, and you should be so proud of your body for what it can achieve instead of what it looks like.
So many people see women's sport as, not profitable, which I...
Welcome to 4TG. Hayley Campbell, welcome to the 4TG pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
So for context for the listeners, Hayley is also my personal S&C, and I thought it's only fair if I have to suffer through your training plans that you can suffer with me for 1 hour.
Excuse you, I think that your training plans are very well thought out and very considerate.
They are.
I put all of your requests into your program last time you asked me, so...
Again, Hayley is athlete first all the time. So in all seriousness, Hayley has been a massive part of my ACL rehab journey, and she's whipped me into shape, and I'll be ready to go hopefully for VFL next year, stronger than ever. But in saying that, I have never felt more strong and confident in what my body can do, and that is thanks to Hayley and her work. So I'm excited to share her intricate S&C brain with the rest of the world today. But before we get into that, and before we get into Hayley as an S&C coach, I want to hear a little bit more about Hayley as a person. What was your childhood like, and what was the role that sport played in growing up?
Good question. Where to start? I grew up in regional New South Wales and then moved to regional Victoria when I was about 15 years old. So for anyone who's grown up in a regional area, sport is kind of like all there is. So it's like some people go to church on Sundays, everyone in the country goes to footy or netball on Saturday and winter, and then in summer there's tennis, swimming. Like it really is like the heart of most small communities. And so sport was, I don't want to sound dramatic and say my whole life, but like our whole schedule was built around sport. My brother is a professional golfer, so he did golf, footy, swimming, tennis. I did eventing, like horse riding, and then netball was probably my main sport, but same thing, tennis, swimming. Like we were just always on the move for sport. So very, very much like my whole life essentially revolved around it when I was younger, which I loved. Like, so lucky to have grown up in the country and have the upbringing that I had. But yeah, there was the ongoing joke in my family that we grew up in the car because the closest town to, well, both the towns that I lived in, the closest biggest town was an hour and 10 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So very, very like, not secluded because it wasn't that bad, but like they both have about 800 people in them. So It's like, yeah, it's small and the whole community is built around sport. So I was very, very lucky to get to experience that when I was younger.
And what was your experience with sport? Did you ever want to take it to the next level, or did you find the passion more so in helping athletes achieve that next level?
No, I was so competitive.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was always smaller than everyone else and like I guess a little bit of a late bloomer, if you will, but like the one thing I had and was like really good at and really confident in was sport, particularly netball. So I started netball a little bit later because I was competitive like in eventing and horse riding. Most of my social life, like I thrived in sport because I found school a little bit more difficult and I was really shy and like quite an anxious little kid. Mm-hmm. But then once I was in sport, I was pretty fast, picked things up pretty quickly and just like loved it. It was such a good environment. So that definitely bred a lot of competitiveness because I feel like as like an insecure, preteen or teenage girl, that was my one area. And so I feel like I almost had a bit more at stake than the others because I was like, I am good at this is my thing. And I was so competitive, which definitely like helped me out later on in my career because S&C itself is very competitive. I actually think it's something that the industry is getting a little bit better at shifting away from, being like it's always me versus you. Like people seem to be a lot more happy to help each other out with things now. I've been doing this for like 10 years. So at the start it felt very much like me versus you. We want the same job. Like it was just all very still competitive. So that helped me out early days, but it's been nice, I suppose, kind of grow out of that as it feels like the industry has started to as well. Yeah.
So a little bit more on sport and sort of what it meant to you, and it gave you that sense of belonging, I guess, from a young age. What other lessons did you learn through sport? And especially I want to touch on the fact that you're a horse girl because I'm also a former horse girl and we get a bad rap, but I must say It has honestly, personally, it has given me so much discipline and know the work ethic that is involved, because you're not only looking after yourself, but you have to look after a big animal with 4 legs, and you have to feed it, rug it, work it, and then have to do all the same for yourself. So let's go into a little bit more about that. And what was that journey like?
Yeah, I think, so my grandparents were competitive in show jumping and I went into eventing, but purely because it meant I got to do cross country,
Yeah.
which for everyone else's context is like, it's almost more of a race with jumps in it. Like I loved it and I tolerated dressage to do cross country. Yeah. But I was also, show jumping was sort of the area I would have gone to if I didn't fall in love with cross country as much. But yeah, I picked up so much from that. Discipline massively, because you're keeping another creature alive. Like it's more than just having a house pet. Like you and that animal genuinely have to work together. Like they have a personality of their own, which I feel like a lot of people forget. And they're not always willing
Yes.
to be helpful. So discipline for sure. Community as well. Like I feel like the horse community is quite close because it doesn't allow a lot of time for other things. Like my parents bent over backwards to make sure that I could do competitive horse riding and netball and pretty much any other sport that I wanted to do. Like they just made it happen. And I look back now and the amount of feeding my horses that my parents did and the amount of extra hours in the car, and like I would do basketball on a Friday, netball on a Saturday. My brother would be off at golf on Sunday at one place, and then probably 4 hours away, my dad or mum were in the car with me and the horses on the back. Discipline for sure. Dedication, because again, you can't do it by halfway. Like if you take a day off, doesn't just affect you. You've got an animal who also needs to be fit and ready to compete. And then outside of like horse riding, I think confidence was the biggest one that I got from sport in general. Like I have had to probably try and work through that a little bit more as an adult. But for a while there, I was like, netball, if you'd asked me, like, what are you good at? Probably the only answer I would have had was netball. So I really, like, attached my personality.
Your identity.
Yeah, and my identity to sport, which a lot of young athletes do. Like, I see that every day with the girls that I coach. But, yeah, there was definitely bonuses that came from that. Like I said, I've always been, like, had a really high work ethic and just had the mindset that if you work at something, it'll happen eventually. And there are other people behind you who aren't working. So, like, get further ahead, I suppose.
Yep.
There's a real trend on competitiveness here.
Yeah.
I think so many things, like when you sent me some of these questions, I was like, oh, we're going to be here for like probably 45 hours because it was hard to get answers because it's given me so many things like community, my work ethic, my confidence, belonging, like all of that stuff has come from sport, which I just feel so fortunate to have been given those opportunities by my parents to, like if I had turned around and said I wanted to do lawn bowls, Dad would be like, all right, what are we doing? How are we getting there? Like I'm really, really lucky to have had so many of those things ingrained in me from sport, I suppose. Yeah.
And it's only when you get to this age too that you realise just how much of a sacrifice your parents, made for you to be able to play sport.
Oh, 100%. I was talking to my auntie, I'm not going to say how long ago it was because it's not that long. It's been embarrassing because I'm 30. But I like had the realization where I was like, they did everything for me. And she was like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was like,
newsflash, yes.
Yeah, having the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, there's literally nothing. Especially being in a regional area. Like one of my competitions when I was younger, I made nationals for eventing. Like I made the national squad. And my hometown was right on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. And then my competition was in Adelaide. So it's like an 8-hour trip, not just with me to sort out, with 2 horses like in the float and carting people around. And then literally the next weekend I would have had interleague for netball, like just the amount of running around that I had to do. Well, there you go. It's actually probably taught me organisation as well. Saying that out loud, there's heaps, just like so many things. I feel like my life has always revolved around it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And growing up and playing sport, what were the gaps that you saw that now as a coach you want to try and overcome?
Again, lots of them. But it's actually been a really nice way for me to try and give back to like the rural communities. So I still play netball out in the Horsham District League, which is 4 hours from us. So I'm there on Saturdays and then we go up there on Friday nights, come back on Saturday nights, and then I'm usually with the Dragons girls on Sunday. And so when I got here and got to see what athlete development actually looked like and the pathways that happen for athletes up in in the city, essentially, I was so shocked at how different it is. Like in regional Vic, like I wasn't even really aware of what the pathway was. Like I went into league, state titles, And then past that, just didn't, like, obviously wasn't good enough to be talked to about the next step. But, like, I wasn't even aware that there was really a next step. Like, if I ask the girls in the Dragons program, how do you get drafted? They know exactly what that looks like. And if you asked any of the girls who are quite talented out in regional Vic, like, what is the pathway? Like, they won't be able to give it to you. And so I think that being able to give some of that knowledge and some of that structure back to the regional communities, even on injury prevention or load management or, you know, REDS, like, people have never heard of these things out there just because they're so under-resourced. So I think that has probably been a big one. It's been really, really nice to be able to take that back. So I knew really quickly that there was a gap from the city to regional Vic, but then when you look from women's or girls programs to the boys programs, like, it's just night and day. You and I were talking in the gym this week about even the soft cap in AFL to AFLW. Like, it's something like 7 times what the women's is. Like, the men get 7 times the amount of money to spend on staff versus the women's. And then people wonder why it's not as good of a product. Never mind the fact that it's 50 years plus younger. Like, it's just a baby. AFLW is just a baby and has made massive leaps and bounds. But, like, you look at things like that and it's like, no wonder there's a gap. It's just massive.
Yeah. And just going to the gaps between, I guess, regional and, you know, metro, do you think in this day and age where we have social media, that gap is slowly closing it? Although I'm sure it has opened up a whole can of worms in another.
I think it does a little bit because they then get to see, but even training intensity is completely different. Like, I have a nephew who is quite good at footy and I watch him play on a Saturday. And he's quite good, like, but I can see he's in second gear. And I have gone to some of the under 16s trainings with the Dragons boys just to fill in through Foundry. And, like, I have never seen competitiveness like it. So I think it's definitely more readily available, but they still need to know what to look for. Like, if kids know that they should be doing the gym, right? Or the boys at least know that they should be doing the gym. But, like, they just have no idea what that looks like. And half the time with the young girls that I work with, when they come into these pathway programs at 16 or 17, I'm the first one that's told them. And so I would say that it is better, but it's might have gone from 0% of where it needs to be to 15. Like, it's still just so far off.
And what do you think could be changed to help that?
I think it just comes back to education. Like, if they don't know and there's no one there telling them that they should be considering certain things, then you can't expect them to go look for the knowledge on their own. Because I think back to when I was in, like, junior netball, like under 13s, under 15s, and, you know, did quite well in my first couple of years. I was like, yeah, I could play for Australia one day. But, again, had no idea what that pathway looked like. No one was talking to me about it leading up. And, like, I was playing in pathway programs, but not, like, I still didn't know. And I just feel like if you actually lay it out for people, then it helps them have a realistic view on whether or not they can get there and what they have to do. And, like, I was never going to get there. Like, I'm not sitting here like, oh, if I was in the city, I'd be playing for the Diamonds right now.
No.
Nowhere near it. But, like, if I had known, then I would have worked. 'Cause I was such a hard worker. But without any direction or anyone telling me what to do, I actually sort of dug myself into a little bit of a hole because I was like, I don't want to be fitter, faster. I'll run more, all that type of stuff, and end up with, like, stress fractures in my shins, for example. And that is just something that should be so easy to find. Like, it should be black and white for someone who is 13, 14, 15 years old to look on the internet and be like, okay, what should I be doing if I want to get better at netball? But if I were to even go Google that now when there is more information available and, you know, socials like mine or like fees or, you know, people who are out there actively talking about it, I guarantee that the first thing that comes up is going to be like a dieting ad or, you know, train to look this way instead of train for performance, train to achieve this, train for your health. Like, it's just so hard. Don't know that answers your question at all.
No,
I don't know is probably the answer. Like, it's just such a big beast to tackle.
Yeah. But no, I totally agree. And even for me, who came into AFL late and then got told, you know, if you worked hard, you could, you know, progress. But I still didn't know, or still don't really. There's no clear path. And again, you can't really look on the internet and say, right, I need to make it to this team, I need to speak to this person, or there's like no sort of seminars being like, this is how you progress through the system. It's just basically all word of mouth and networking. And there's a lot of issues with that, and a lot of potential wasted because there is no clear path that people can go and look at.
100%. I'm working on it. Slowly.
So you create that roadmap, you'll be a very popular person. So just touching on that social media thing, because I think that is a massive issue within the fitness industry now. And, you know, there's obviously stats floating around, and essentially algorithms favour aesthetics over, you know, evidence-based performance. How in your space have you seen that popping up, and what sort of damage is that doing, especially to young females?
Yeah, it's a massive, like, I don't even know where to start on fixing that. Like, it's such a big problem. I think in the fitness world, and it probably happens a little bit in, well, I know it happens a bit in nutrition as well. It's like, unfortunately, if you can exercise and you've had something work for you specifically, then the kind of accepted thing is that you can give recommendations about it. And in training and in food, especially when you're talking about teenage girls, that is so incredibly dangerous. Like, whenever I get asked about this stuff, I go back to one story, and I have her permission to tell. But I used to work with an athlete when I was probably pretty early days in my career. Like, I would have maybe only been a year or two out of uni. So I definitely could have had better tools to help her. But essentially, she had been part of this program before I got there. And some of the feedback that she got given from a coach, so not an S&C coach, not a dietitian, was just that she didn't look like the other girls in the sport that she was trying to get to. So he was like, you're here, all your skills are good, you're doing XYZ, you're a really hard worker, but when I look at you compared to the girls at the top level, there's a big gap there. And this coach, like, I have so much time for him. He was genuinely, there's no way that what he said was trying to be harmful. He was absolutely wanted her to get where she wanted to go, because he'd been working with her for a really long time. And essentially what he was trying to say is, like, you need to go away and work on your match fitness. But the way it was worded, like, ended up doing a lot of damage. So what then happened for her was she went off, went to the internet, found a coach to try and do that, but instead of it being an S&C coach or someone who worked in her sport, it was like a life coach. And then she came back into my program with an eating disorder and a stress fracture. And I get a bit emotional talking about it, because she's actually one of my really good friends now. But that is such a preventable thing. Like, if she was in a professional program, I'll use Suncorp Netball as an example. If she's in Suncorp Netball and her fitness isn't up to scratch, and, you know, she's not ready to play at the level, then one, that conversation doesn't happen with a coach. The S&C coach is the one who has that conversation. And then if there's anything else that is, you know, say nutrition is a factor, then she gets sent to a professional dietitian straight away who knows her sport, and everything is set up there for her. And then if it does become a problem, like there is something obsessive that starts to happen with her food, or, you know, she gets obsessive with her exercise, then she goes straight to the sport psych. But because she was in a semi-professional program that is underfunded, especially compared to the men's program, she had to go find all of that stuff herself. And when you look at how rife diet culture is, and how many people are giving advice without having a qualification, like, of course she got there. Like, that's exactly how that happened. And if I had picked it up a little bit earlier, like if a girl came to me and said, or looked the way she did, or said what she had said to me now, I would have been right on it. And I have been able to pick up a few of those since, because of that experience, which is good and bad. Bad because there's people having that experience, but good because I've been able to catch some of it early. But like, I ended up finding it because I got my period early, and she was walking out of the change room, and I was like, oh, do you have a tampon? And her stressy just wasn't getting better. Every time we added load to it, it would, you know, flare up, and she'd have to get set back, and we're like, oh, we just can't get her where we need her to go. And I got my period early, ran into the change rooms, like, oh, do you have a tampon? And she goes, oh, I haven't had my period for like 5 months.
Oh, God.
And I was like, far out, like, yeah. And like, I didn't have enough experience to have picked it up. I can pick it up pretty easily now. But it's like, it wasn't even our system that picked that up. Like, she was injured and having a really hard time, and it still slipped through until I had the knowledge, because I'd had my own experience with RED-S and disordered eating and stress fractures, that I was like, okay, that's not good. Yeah. And then so we look at that, and then she ended up with a diagnosis of an eating disorder, and it essentially ended her sporting career. Like, she went from being this close, and she was this close because I was getting asked about her, to make it to the top level, to then just being like so it was just what she wanted physically and what she wanted from a sport perspective just didn't line up. And so it got to the point where it was like, she needed to go and sort herself out as a person, because athletes are people first, to then potentially come back and play the sport. And she hasn't gone back into the sport. She's still involved in another way, but not playing. And it's like, that just should never have happened.
It's heartbreaking. The potential lost because something fell through the cracks so easily.
And then the next year, when I was working through a couple of different regional programs, a couple of semi-professional programs, I actually started screening for it, because I was like, all right, that's never happening on my watch again. Absolutely not. And if I were to give you a percentage of the girls that I was working with that had a history of an eating disorder or an active eating disorder that we picked up on, would have been 60% easy.
Yeah.
Like, that is, like, to think of in a group of 100 girls, and it probably was about 160 of them, are struggling with that is disgusting. Like, that just shouldn't, there's no reason for it to be that way other than no one's putting funding or education forward for them.
Into it. Yeah. When researching for this episode, I found a stat that said that 73% of girls aged 14 to 17 say that social media has made them feel worse about their bodies, and 1 in 3 teens say that they've changed their eating habits because of something they saw on social media. Yeah. Those stats are massive, so you can just imagine everything that's falling through the cracks there.
And like, I was one of them. Like, when you talk about them changing their eating habits because of things they've seen on socials, I was scrawny. It's probably the best way to describe it. I was scrawny when I was like 14, 15. Like, I was really restrictive in my eating purely because of what I'd seen. It wasn't to lose weight, and it wasn't because I didn't like how I looked. If anything, I didn't like how I looked because I was too small. But I ended up, like, I think back to some of the things I was doing, and I'm just like, that is, I didn't necessarily have an eating disorder, but I absolutely had disordered eating, and my relationship with food was not good. And again, that's not even coming from a place where I, didn't like my body or was mad at my body or anything like that. Like, I thought I was just doing it because that's what people were telling me to do. And I was like, yeah, all right. Like, that's what you're meant to do. That's healthy. Yeah. And I look back now and I'm like, far out. Like, it's just, it's such a hard thing to tackle because social media is so big, and like, you just feel like you're missing so many people. But I look at the girls that I'm helping out in the programs that I'm in now, and it's like, all right, well, if I've just stopped 4 people from ending up with a stress fracture and missing out on their draft year or hating their body, then that's like, it's a small step, but it's a step in the right direction.
It's an incredible step because it's also a ripple effect, and they will become more aware of it, and they are more likely to spot it with their friends. So a massive effect. And also with social media, there is obviously, and what I've found personally, there's a lack of representation of different body types within social media and the fitness industry. Yeah. I mean, when we were growing up, we always were told that skinny is healthy, skinny's fit, and we're looking for, thigh gaps and all these unattainable aesthetic appearances. But it's so good now to see people like Ilona Ma, the Rugby 7 star, US star, and she's like trying to really, I guess, reclaim what feminine in sport means, and it's not just skinny is fit, it's also that strong is the new sexy. And we only have to look at even in the AFLW, like we've got Kathy Spark, who is an incredibly strong athlete, and I remember listening to a podcast with her, and she was saying that she used to feel quite self-conscious about how muscly she was because it's not the standard of being feminine. But it's so good to see the shift now that we're seeing so many strong women, and I look at Ilona and Kathy, and I see more of myself. I'd like to see more of myself looking at Kathy. They're absolutely amazing athletes, but it's good to see that there's more representation of what healthy athletes are, as opposed to what we always thought was aesthetically pleasing, having washboard abs and everything now. So I think there are some positives, but there needs to be a lot more. Yeah,
I think that there's definitely been a shift in like what an athlete can look like. Like, if I think of Suncorp, and like Romelda Aiken-George is a goal shooter, and she is like the best shooter probably in the world. Like, she is killing it. And if you stand her next to, well, like, I'll use myself as an example. I get told that I look fit and athletic all the time. And like, I do a little bit of training, but I don't run. I don't do off-legs conditioning. Like, I pretty much just do enough to play like a local level of netball. And like, if you were to line both of us up, I think most of the general public would be like, oh, well, that's the athlete, not her. And it's like, well, no, that's exactly what she needs for her sport. She needs to be strong and tall and built. Like, just because she's not weighing in at 60 kilos doesn't mean that she's less than as an athlete. Like, she'd obviously do much better than I am. Like, there are just so many different things that you need for different positions in different sports. And the idea that, it's one size fits all is slowly dying, I think, which is good because it's an absolute load of shit. And it's causing damage. Like,
it is. And long term, beyond sport. In
Oh,
life,
100%.
confidence.
Like,
Yeah.
if I think about that athlete that I was talking about earlier who ended up with the stressy, like, you know, she's from a regional area as well. And if, you know, sport for her was also her confidence and her community and her sense of belonging, and now she can't play purely because she went online and someone said that 1,800 calories a day is what she needs.
Yes.
That has massive effects on her as a person. And as someone who struggled with restrictive eating or disordered eating, once you have been in that space, you've got to be careful with it for the rest of your life. Like, I have to be so conscious about counting calories and because I still look at some things, and when I'm out for dinner and I'm like, oh, I've had this, this and this, and that's probably too much now. But it's like, no, just fucking eat. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
You
like
need
there
to.
is
You
there
need
is
to
no
fuel.
reason for me not to be doing that, but it's those old habits. I'm going to have to be conscious of that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely life altering. And
Yeah.
I think on that too, and something you mentioned about that athlete, is that the role that coaches play, and words are so loaded, and you need to be so careful. Like, I've got a lot of close friends who have also suffered with that. And to this day, they still are suffering with that. And, you know, there's no one size fits all for being athletic. If you can do the job and you do it well, it does not matter what you look like, and you should be so proud of your body for what it can achieve instead of what it looks like.
Oh, 100%. And like, this comes back to education, right? Like, there is absolutely no way. I know for a fact that that coach was trying to do the right thing for her because she was so close to getting where she wanted to be. It's not his fault. It's not her fault. It's not my fault. Like, it's the fact that women's sport has been so underfunded for so long that it's taking that extra time. And now that they are actually having to spend money on it, there's definitely a little bit of song and dance about it, but whatever. But yeah, there's like, it's just so underfunded. Like, it should be easy for him to find that information as well. Like, there should be training for him on that type of stuff. Like, it just, yeah, there's so many things that like need to change, and for me it does all come back to education, but not just to the athlete, of the people around them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of the traditional ideas have come from the physiology of men. And what Stacey Sims says is that we are not small men, so we can't be treated and have to train like small men.
Yeah, and like the idea that even people are being trained like that is also kind of incorrect, I think, because like people are acting like the girls are being told that they need to be doing bench and push-ups and bicep curls and all that stuff, and it's like, no, how about we start with telling them that they need to be in the gym because they need to be strong.
Yep.
Like, and even the conversation you and I have had is all about aesthetics. Like, if you can shift that focus onto what your body can do. Like, I don't, you know, when you came to me with your ACL, I wasn't like, oh yeah, we need to make sure that you know, get your quads back and your right leg looks the same as your left. Like, that's part of it. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that it's as powerful as the left, and that, you know, you're as explosive on both sides and you can kick the same distance on both sides. Like, how about what you can do as opposed to what it looks like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is the role that strength can play with young female athletes, not just from the physical standpoint, but also all the other additional benefits that will come with strength training?
Yeah, well, like, we know for a fact that it's good, like, resistance training or gym is good for your cardiovascular health. It's good for your mental health. Like, there are just so many different things, like longevity of life. Like, realistically, outside of kids who should be like playing, and when I say kids, I mean like under 12 years old who just need to be playing and doing lots of sports and, you know, just enjoying what they're doing, like, strength training is going to have a benefit for you. For the girls in particular, it's like injury prevention is massive. Like, people are carrying on about the epidemic of ACLs in AFLW right now, and don't get me wrong, it's absolutely there.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
I can speak too closely.
triggered.
My eyes started to shake.
Yeah, like, it is. It's absolutely there. Like, I have 11 ACLs on my like rehab list at Foundry right now, and most of them are footballers. One of them isn't. But you're also looking at a population who might have only just started strength training and like, or, you know, hasn't been playing the sport for as long. Like, there's lots and lots of research going into the prevention of that stuff. But like, it's no good being the fittest person out there if you're just going to get ragdolled around, or if you don't have the resilience, your body doesn't have the resilience to keep you on there. Like, I don't care if you're the fittest person if you're, you know, on the bench for the next 8 months. Like, that's useless to me. Yeah. Yeah. But I think that I'd love to see the focus switch to them being strong and powerful as opposed to like fit and fast and light. Like, that for me is the big narrative that I get all the time. It's like, I want to be faster, I want to be fitter. And then if you lined everyone up, they'd all have this idea on what that looks like. And it's like, no, if you get stronger, Like strength training is going to help your speed. It's going to help your agility. It's going to help your ability to slow down. It's going to help you jump. Like you're probably going to be able to be tossed out of a contest a little bit. That actually happened to me one day. I got picked up and lifted out of a contest in footy, which, you know, also renders me kind of useless in that moment. Yeah. But I think that, there's just so many benefits to it. And for me as a coach, it's easy to forget what people don't know. Because to me, it's just a given that, you know, you get stronger and you get faster. You get stronger and you're going to be able to jump higher. Like I have so many girls come to me at 16, 17, even 18, and they've just got no idea. Yeah.
And the perception, I guess, still is that I don't want to put on muscle and get bulky.
Yeah.
Do you get that a lot?
Oh, 100%. I had it yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what do you say to them?
Well, this is the thing, right? Especially in teenagers, it is hard to put muscle mass on. Like if I have so many girls who come through footy and are small forwards or small mids, and it's like, I actually need a bit of muscle mass on you because you're going to be shoved off. And like, that kid has to eat like it's going out of fashion. Yeah, it's actually really hard. Like that concern, again, comes from an aesthetic as opposed to what your body can do. So my response to that is, one, like I could have you in here 5 days a week training, you know, like a bodybuilder, and it is still going to be very, very hard for me to put muscle mass on you. So that's one of them. I think the other thing too is like, just to put it out there into the world, to make your body look a really specific way, that requires a really strict diet and a really strict way of training. Like training like an athlete in a way that's going to be better for your footy or better for your netball or better for your tennis or whatever it is actually probably not going to do that for you. Like your body will potentially change, but you're not going to be walking around like you're ready to walk out into a bodybuilding comp. Like that's just... If there was a way to do that, the fitness industry and the aesthetic one would almost cease to exist because everyone would just have that program and they would just do it and we'd all look the same. It doesn't exist.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think too, genetics plays such a massive role in it. Like if I use myself as an example again, I'm like 80% quad. And like, that's not like, I'm the type of person who looks sideways at a dumbbell and puts on muscle mass. Whereas my fiance, who it should be easier for him to put muscle mass on because he's a guy, like that is testosterone helps with that for sure. Like he has to work really hard at trying to keep his muscle mass up. So it's just not that easy. Like going to the gym 3 days a week to try and help your footy is not going to do that for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And tell me more now about sort of creating these inclusive environments so that teenage girls are more likely to go into a gym without feeling intimidating, because it is intimidating if you've never been into a gym before and all you see is these gym bros throwing weights around. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, the free weights areas are usually like 3 by 3 meters at a Gen Pop gym, and so you have no choice but to be the tiny little person there around like all of the bodybuilders.
Yeah.
I think my advice for people trying to get into a gym and find a space that is inclusive is find a coach. Like I get this question a lot, especially from parents who have kids and are trying to make sure that they're doing the right thing by them. It's like, oh, when should they start the gym or when should they get a gym membership? It's like, no, when should they get coaching? Because that space when you're not trained and you don't know what you're doing can be really dangerous in of itself. Like, you know, like you can dislocate a shoulder doing bench press, no worries. Like you can really, really hurt your back if you're not squatting with right technique. Yeah, there's so many things that can go wrong. So I think that one, if you find a coach, look for that first, and that will typically take you to the environment that you want to be in. But if we're talking about general population gyms, I think it's such a hard question because those spaces, in my experience, are so geared towards aesthetics. And if we're talking about our 16, 17-year-old girls, which is the population I work with a lot, they're already so unhappy with how they look that then when you put them in an environment that is geared towards looking a certain way and looking the same, then of course that's going to be really scary for them. So that's, I actually don't have an answer to the question of how do you make those spaces inviting. My advice would be to try and find like a coach first, and then that in itself will give you the confidence. I think it's the best thing anyone can do, regardless of what your goal is. Like you need to have guidance in that space. You can't just go and do it on your own. Like you wouldn't go and, I don't know, try and just pick up a sport on your own. Like you're going to have some help. You're going to have a coach. You're going to have a team. Like gym should be the same.
Yeah. And I think for all of those who are in the financial position to do so, I personally couldn't recommend joining an S&C gym particularly as well, because just giving you a big
shameless
head now.
Plug.
Shameless plug for Foundry Athletic. But it's, you're surrounded by athletes from all different sports. They look all different, all shapes and sizes, and you're getting coaching for everything.
Yeah.
Before that, I was just going to a normal gym and I, wasn't really progressing, and I thought I was doing great. And as soon as I got to Foundry and got coaching, I've been doing it wrong for this long, and it's just like, imagine the gains that I've missed out on in that time.
Yeah, and like just to be clear too, like the definition we have of an athlete is if you play a sport.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be at, like we have some kids in the gym and to be honest, like even some adults in the gym who are playing at a domestic level, but they want to make sure that what they're doing doesn't hinder their ability to play sport. They don't want to get injured. They don't want to be sore all the time. Like they've recognized that it's an area that is not within their expertise, so that they've come and, sought help basically.
For an athlete who just say they can't afford S&C,
coaching,
or if they are in a regional area and they don't have an S&C gym, what resources would you tell them to go and read, or what would be the most beneficial thing that they could do?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of good educational content out there, but it's not necessarily algorithm friendly because it's not like the big song and dance that you typically get. Usually the stuff that is good for you from an S&C point of view is the boring stuff. Like you've been squatting for how many months now? Like you don't have to change stuff up all the time, and it doesn't have to look really pretty to give you the benefit that you want. So I know that Foundry Athletic is currently, which is where I work, is currently trying to get some content and stuff out there. So if you go to our Instagram, there's some really good like coaching content on there. If we're talking regional Vic, the Rad Centre does a really good job. And when I'm thinking regional Vic, I'm thinking like, everyone who falls into the Rebels sort of space or the Murray Bush Rangers. Radford is really, really good. It's actually a really hard question to answer because like I said earlier, there's much more misinformation out there than there is good information. Maybe we'll link them in the notes.
Yeah, we'll put them in the show notes.
I'll get some links and things up there for you.
That'd
but if I was, even reaching out to a coach, like jump onto Foundry and be like, hey, I live here and I only have this much to spend. What do you recommend?
Yeah.
Like find an S&C coach in your space. Most of the time they're happy to try and help because they know that it's an area that's done so poorly and that can be dangerous if it's not managed. Yeah.
So in November, you have the Foundry Female Athlete Summit coming up.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what's going to be in store for those who attend?
Yes. So the Female Athlete Summit is my passion project. It's my little baby at Foundry Athletic. It's something I've been wanting to put together pretty much since I started in S&C back in 2016, which is a little bit exposing, but that's all right. Yeah, so essentially what I wanted to put together was a resource for women and girls to find good quality information, because like I've spoken about a few times in the podcast, is like it's just so hard to find information that is helpful and safe and is actually going to do what you need it to do for you. The summit, the first one was in February, so with the help of Foundry, I got it off the ground finally after like 8 years. Yeah, the whole idea of it is that we bring lots of different experts in to talk about their area and pitch it in a way that is really easily understood. Because again, from S&C, I could go and talk to you about all the energy systems and, use lots of jargon, and that stuff you can find, but no one's going to understand what it is. So good quality information in a really easily understood way and delivered with other women and other girls, essentially. Because what I've found from working with the Dragons program in particular is that if one of you have a question, guarantee there's like 15 people who are thinking the same thing but don't know to ask. So the one that is coming up will have a dietitian to talk about food, because that is a massive area. Like none of my girls eat enough. So definitely none of the girls eat enough. So dietetics will be one of the big ones. And then I'll run a portion on load management and training for the female athlete, which is obviously a little bit of quite an interest area for me. We have Fiona Sanford, who was the founder of the Flourish Journey, to come and talk about confidence and do like a little workshop on, finding yourself and what your values and things. We'll also have a panel of like professional athletes who will come and talk about their experiences and then, what they did to get there and what it's like working in a male dominated industry. Because even though, there's obviously women's teams and women's sport on its own, sport itself is a male dominated industry. Like you look at a lot of the coaches and they're still male. Like I myself have worked mostly with men as an S&C coach, even though I've always worked in women's sport and women's teams. Yeah, so that's the idea of it, is just to try and bring as much good quality information in one spot as possible. And then that in itself gives girls a network of people to go talk to. So even if at the summit they don't have their questions answered, but, something has flagged where it's like, some of the things that the dietitian has said around food is something that I'm not quite getting right, then they have a name that they can go and talk to, or, you know, they might be able to share their experiences with another female athlete who's sitting right next to them who's like, yeah, I also, you know, have no idea what I'm doing in the gym and I hate going by myself. Yeah, so that's the plan with it. I have big dreams for it. I would love for it to be like an international streamed event that happens over multiple days, bits and pieces of it to be cut up and be online as a resource for the girls that you were talking about who aren't in a financial position or are in regional Vic and don't know where to find that information and just want some help. It's going to be big and exciting.
That would be incredible.
It's only like in its second little run now, but we had such good feedback from the first one. And like when I talk about making a difference, like we had some girls from there who then came and spoke to me about REDS, which was what the topic I spoke about is energy deficiency in sport. And, you know, I've probably prevented one of them from falling into the same sort of category as that athlete I was talking about earlier. So I just think it's shit that the information is hard to find. There's no reason that it should be that way. And yeah, so I'm trying to make sure that it's getting put out there.
That's incredible. And so when can we start seeing some tickets available, or where can we go for more information?
Yeah, so if you go to keep an eye on Foundry Athletics website, we're currently doing some promo and filming and stuff for it now, and getting some reviews from girls who had been in there so that we know how to market it a little bit better. Because again, I just want it to reach as many people as possible. I want it to be as accessible as possible. Like it will be easy to find, but start with Foundry Athletics website for now. There is an events tab up the top, which is where they'll be able to find it. I'll also have it on my socials, which are currently looking a little bit bare. Someone stole my Instagram account not that long ago.
No.
So I had like lots and lots of girls that were keeping an eye on that space, but there's a new handle that will also link below.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's where to go find it. I'd love to have as many people as possible there. Like, I just think that it's got such potential to make such a difference and help so many people. Yeah, it'll be open to coaches and athletes. So see you there, please, guys.
Done. Well, I personally will be there. I can't wait. And yes, if you know any girl, or what's the age range, by the way?
It's literally 12 and above.
12 and above, okay.
So last time at the event, the youngest girl we had there was 13 and the oldest athlete we had there was 42.
Wow. Okay. So for any female athletes out there, get along to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very exciting. Yeah. All right, let's get into our rapid fire questions. So, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 16-year-old self?
So many things. If I think about what I was like at 16, I probably just needed someone to like sort of take a bit of pressure off me. Like I was talking earlier about being really competitive and really driven, but with that came a lot of pressure that I put on myself. I feel like I missed out on so many good experiences or enjoying so many good experiences that I had within sport and just in general, because I was so set on doing it perfectly and being the best. And you know, again, with that came a lot of pressure. Like in netball, it's not a sport that you can, like one person can't be the difference, because you can't even move with the ball, right? So like you need it to be a whole team thing. And I remember so clearly like us losing a grand final when I was 16 playing A grade. So it's a lot of pressure for someone who's 16 years old. But I remember losing a grand final. We lost by like 5 and I was like, oh, well, I didn't do enough. And it's like, for starters, I'm a center. I'm not shooting. I can't actually like get the goals that we needed to win. So like that pressure was just so unnecessary. So it sounds a little bit cliche, but just someone to tell her that it's going to be okay. I think just to relax a little bit and try and enjoy the process more, because I had so many awesome opportunities with my sport. And when I think back, I do like the prominent memory for me outside of like the friends I made is just like desperately wanting to win. And now like I play that I'm a little bit older and obviously got a bit more experience, like I play so much better when I'm more relaxed. So I would have loved to have been 16 and enjoyed and just been like, this is pretty fucking cool that I made it to where I've made it. Like, let's just enjoy the process. And I see so much of that in my Dragons girls in particular. Like, they're so desperate to get drafted, which is awesome because they're such a good group of girls. And I think any of them would thrive within a professional program. But I see them like, you know, almost waste games being so hard on themselves. And it's like, mate, you're out here playing footy with an opportunity to potentially get to do it as a job for the rest of your life.
Yeah, take it all in.
So, take it all in and just, like, relax a little bit.
Be proud of where you've gotten to instead of always worrying about what's next.
100%. Like, I see some of them beat themselves up so hard and I look at all of them and I'm like, you've improved so much and I'm so proud of where you're at. And it's like so nice to see them get results. But again, if it was just come with like a deep breath and a quick look around and be like, wow, this is actually pretty cool that I get to be here. Like I want them to be able to get the most out of it, and enjoyment has to be first.
Now, what is something small but powerful we can all do today to help promote women's sport?
One of the first things that came to mind is a video that I actually showed you in the gym not that long ago by Daniel Sloss, I think his name is. He's a comedian. And it was a very different context, like not sport related at all. But he said that if there's one person in the room that is saying negative things or that is, you know, not treating someone properly, and the other 9 people don't say anything, then it doesn't matter that they're not participating, but they may as well not be there. And I think that applies for women's sport. Like, I hear so many times where people will just like give it a bit of a drive-by and just say something negative. And like, as example, I heard someone say the other day that, you know, to fix the AFLW, it should just be played across the ground, like at halftime of the men's.
Oh.
And I was like, all right, so.
Hold me back.
And I went to make a comment and I didn't have to because someone else did. And I was like, that is perfect, because like if it's just the women saying that stuff, it's, you know, it's just going to make them sound like a squeaky wheel. Exactly. And, you know, they'll get those classic labels of you like, you know, being a bitch or being uptight or, you know, all those horrific untrue things that we hear time and time again. So like, to summarize it, it's like, stick up for it. Yeah. Because even if it doesn't affect you now, there is no world where at some stage you're not going to have a wife, a girlfriend, a daughter, a sister, a friend who is, you know, going to want to be part of it. And sport does so many good things for people. Like I said, sense of community, like we know it's good for mental health, like it's good for your like general health. Like there are just so many good things that sport does. And if you keep letting those little drive-by comments go past just because you're not saying them, is still not good enough. Like Absolutely. I said, if there's one person in a group of 10 and the other 9 aren't saying anything, then sorry, you may as well be saying the same thing because it's not helping.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So stick up for it.
Exactly. Stick up for the girls.
Yeah.
100%. Now, at a broader level, what do you think is one thing, whether that be funding, policy, structure, that could change that would really help promote equality in women's sport?
I think with my experiences, it's just has to be education. And again, that all, like, unfortunately, I think a lot of it comes back to funding and the fact that so many people see women's sport as, you know, not profitable, which I wholeheartedly disagree with, but that's the general consensus out there, I believe. So I think that, like, if we can get education to coaches, then that is going to require less staffing initially. And then I also think that education is a massive bit on, you know, just the general public. Like, if I think of the article that came out this week about how much the AFLW is costing the AFL per round, which I have since found is actually an incorrect number. Like, it's, you know, they think they're telling the general public that it's costing more than what it actually is. You know, it's not just about education on, you know, for the athletes and the staff involved. Like, that is poor education of the general public. Like, you're telling them that it costs too much money. And, like, you know, I think, you know, you're obviously going to have your idiots in every group, but most people don't actually know the benefits. And I think if you did know the benefits, and I think if you, you know, reminded people that, hey, we're in season like 10 of AFLW, is that what we're in?
Yep.
If we're in season 10 of AFLW right now, then yeah, it doesn't look like the men's program. And that's because the men's program is, you know, so much older than it. Like, you're not going to compare the way a 7-year-old spells to a 70-year-old.
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
That's right.
Like, it's, of course it's not where it is. And I just think that that narrative is not pushed enough.
No.
And there's not enough education to those people. So I think that, but rather than just assuming that these people have their opinions and they're not going to change, like, there has to be more things put in place to put that on show and to teach them that, hey, what you're bagging is actually something that is, you know, doing really friggin' well considering it's 10 years old.
And also just the word, like the wording and the language that we're using. Yeah. They're saying it's a $200 million loss. It is a $200 million investment into the future of women's footy. Yeah. And it's more not what it's costing us, it's what's the cost if we don't do anything for it.
Yeah. And there are so many other things that come into it, like, you know, educate them on why that is not taking off. Like you were telling me the other day about, you know, the fact that some of the AFLW games are on a Friday night at 6 p.m. out in Cranbourne. And they're like, why aren't we getting tickets to this?
Yeah, or on a Tuesday. And yeah,
of course you're not.
accessible.
Like, make it accessible. I feel like if people were given that narrative a lot more, then that would help. Because I also had a female athlete in the gym asked me a little while ago. She's like, why do you think they're not as good? And I was like, okay, so I'm going to walk you through the day of an AFL player. He wakes up, does whatever his family stuff is, and then he goes to the club and, you know, does recovery and does gym and does footy training and does education, and then he goes home. That is his entire job, is to be good at footy, right? If I think of Kate Hoare, who's captain of Melbourne, her entire job is to be good at footy. But she also goes to her day job and she is also studying. And, you know, there are so many other things that she has to worry about outside of footy that, of course, she's not going to get results as quickly as the person who's on a good enough wage to then only do football.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here all day and list to you the challenges that women have in sport that men don't. And I just feel like other people don't know. Like if I'm getting that question from a female athlete who herself is trying to make it in professional sport, then God knows what, you know, 60-year-old Gary who doesn't have a daughter playing footy is thinking. Like he doesn't stand a chance.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And let's finish on a positive. What in women's sport is lighting you up at the moment? Whether that is an exciting athlete that is coming up through the ranks, whether it is a movement within women's sport, a win for women's sport.
Oh, heaps of things. My local netball team's going really well right now. I'm really proud of them.
Good.
Yeah, Eden Hope A grade. Jump on and have a look.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I think that I'm so lucky. Like every single day I get to see like young athletes get reward for their work. Like I think I'm gonna get emotional. I think about like my Metro girls. Like I've got Macy, Sienna and Amy and Chloe who have made Metro. And like I've watched those girls go through the absolute trenches. Like, because again, if I think about women's sport, those girls are doing year 12 and they're trying to get better at footy and they're doing gym, and like half the time they beat me to the gym and I get there at 6 a.m. So that is, you know, I'm just really proud of how those girls are going right now. That's lighting me up a little bit. And then I've also seen some really positive engagement on Super Netball's pages at the moment. Like usually the algorithm likes to send me negative comments because like from people who are knocking the sport because I'm more likely to engage with that stuff, unfortunately. But I'm going on to like some of the highlights and stuff, and I'm seeing, you know, not just your Hayleys and your Kylies and your Macy's commenting, like saying positive things. I'm seeing like profiles from, you know, older men who might not be as educated on it being like, wow, that was really impressive. So there is definitely a little bit of a shift, and I feel like I have focused a lot on some of the negative things and the challenges that women's sport is facing right now, but there is some really good work being done to, you know, shift us forward. And I feel like there's this movement with women's sport at the moment that's so exciting to see, because when I was 16, like it wasn't even a consideration. So yeah, I don't know, I get to be around it every day, so it's almost hard to point them out, I think.
Yeah. And I think the most powerful thing is that while you probably didn't get to live it, you're setting the scene so that future girls do get to live it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really love about my job is like I'll have girls come in at 13 years old who are like, yep, I want to play professional footy or I want to play professional netball. And then I actually get to see that through sometimes. Like because I see them so frequently, like they'll come to the gym 3 days a week. And so I'm spending 6 hours a week with these girls. That's assuming they're not part of the footy program that I then spend an extra 15. So my Dragons girls, I'm spending 21 hours a week with some of these girls. And then so I get to see them, you know, be like, oh, I would love to get drafted, to then making Metro and to, you know, having 10 tackles in Metro. That's what Macy had on the weekend.
Go Macy.
Yeah, go Macy. Well done, Mace. You know, to seeing that stuff actually come forward for them, and then the recruiters, you know, reach out to me and ask me questions. Like, literally seen you from a 15-year-old girl who didn't know that she shouldn't be running 7 days a week, who didn't know that she should be eating before footy training, who, you know, potentially couldn't take a clean ground ball, to then like someone who is fit and ready for the next step, which I know she so desperately wants to make. So yeah, just very grateful for my job in general.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for this chat, and thank you for everything you are doing for women's sports.
No worries.
You are incredible at what you do, and from a personal level, you have improved my strength, fitness, and confidence so much. So thank you very much. I think that the listeners will get so much value out of this episode.
Good. I also want to give a quick shout out to Pat, who did a lot of groundwork for you
Pat
before you
also
got to
did.
me.
He did. We love you, Pat. This is a team effort.
No, thanks for having me. It's been really nice.
Awesome.